wanted to bring you along with me for some DIY projects that I'm going to be doing in my craft room, but I figured, we could do a bit of upcycling, and I also have some seeds that I need to start planting. So I'm going to be bringing out my garden journal, which I know I tried to start last year and sort of forgot about, so I'm going to be reviving this. So this was inspired by a secondhand find. So I got this little shelf at a charity shop. It was only £2, but it's quite unique. Obviously needs a bit of TLC. So what I was thinking was I could sand this down and use like a wood stain on it to maybe make it a bit of a darker colour. It's showing up quite well in the light here. It's more of like a dark sort of orange colour there. That's probably showing quite an accurate colour. So I thought that I could sand it down. It's a little bit like chipped in places, and I thought that I could put this on top of my like green cube unit. I thought that this would look nice on top of that with maybe like some plants and like a few little like knickknacks, that sort of thing. But it actually got me thinking about what could I do to make the most of the space on this cube unit, and could I use like the side of it as well to hang things. So I didn't want to necessarily put any like screws or nails into it, because it's like a knockoff like IKEA type unit. So I didn't know if I would add something in there, if it would cause like cracks or anything, because it's obviously not like proper wood. So what I thought I could do is maybe have some strips of wood that I could attach to it, and then use that to add some nails or some hooks too. So I actually had some wood that was in the shed from various other projects that have been happening in the house, and I've painted it green and trimmed it to size, and I thought that I could put this on the side of my shelf, add some nails into it, and what I thought I could do is then have a place for things to dry. So if I'm doing like some stamping or some jelly printing, then I can like hang them on the hooks, or even stencils like this where I have them on a little hook. I thought that I could like hang them on there and have them across the unit, and I just thought it would help to make the most of the space. So I'll have to cut another one of these and paint it, but I just painted it the same colour as the unit, so that's something I also want to do. But this came to me as a random idea one evening, so that's why I've already started doing this. So that's the plan for what we're going to do. This is actually one of the first sunny days that we've had in a while, and so the sun is coming in real strong and it's very hot on me, so let's get started. Long time no see with this journal, but I figured as soon as I've started planting out my seeds now, I wanted to kickstart this garden journal, as I mentioned, and so I actually decided to switch it into a different one. So I had this note and wish insert that I got a while ago, and I really like the mix of different papers. There's like some translucencies and also some brown paper, and I just figured that it would be a nice fit for this journal, and also because I've kind of got things from like previous like garden seasons, if you will. I just wanted to bring them over into a new insert, but still have a nod to the things that I've already done within my garden. So this isn't kind of like everything, but this is more like as and when I've remembered. Like as I mentioned, like I completely forgot about actually filling this in, so I do want to make more of an effort this year to actually document maybe like photos as well of different things that I've planted, and also different projects I've been doing as well. So I turned a palette into a planter, you know, that like classic Pinterest DIY project, but I did that and I had it on one of the steps in the garden, and it looked really nice in like the summer with my marigolds on it and other flowers that I had planted. So I definitely want to document maybe the things that I have planted in there. And I guess I just want it to be a way of me being able to document the things that I have added to my garden. And then also, because I'm not like a huge gardener, like I don't know a lot necessarily about what I'm doing. I'm just trying to pick like plants that look pretty. So I do want to also have a bit of a like learning experience, hopefully, with this, just in terms of like what's worked and what hasn't within my garden and the things that I am adding. And you know, I've already gone through a few different like setups and the ways that things have looked. So my garden is mostly concrete, to be honest with you. There's a few areas where I can plant things, and so I'm definitely looking to make it more of a like container garden with pots, and maybe invest in some raised beds and things like that. So yeah, it's not necessarily like luscious and green at the moment. I mean, I don't have to mow a lawn, that's always a plus, but I definitely want to build up like the evergreens as well as the flowers that I'm planting. So I've planted some sweet peas because I did those last year and they worked really well. I loved having them by the kitchen window, and I was able to pick from them quite often, which was really nice to bring inside the house. And I had like one of those climbers that they go up, so that was a learning curve trying to make those grow up that, but I really enjoyed those. So I've planted those and a few different varieties as well of those, so I'm excited to see hopefully which ones grow. And I've also planted some like cosmos and marigolds as well, because I only did a few of those last year, but I had a really good success rate with how big they got. So I definitely want to grow some more of those this year. So that's why I figured I need to restart the garden journal. And I just thought it would be nice as well to have a journal that's just dedicated to this sort of thing. So as you'll see, as I'm working in this, I'm doing a bit of a title page here, just like a bit of a nicety as an opening for this. But the things I'm including, it's kind of junk journaling in a way, because I'm literally just like saving like the packets from seeds and different things that I come across, like labels. But it's like dual purpose, because it's like cool to obviously collect different things, but also it's a bit informative. So, you know, like the care for different plants and things. So I'm able to have them all in one place. So if I need to refer to what I've got within the garden, then I can sort of cross-reference and think, okay, that's like what that plant specifically is, because there's a plant that I got when I first moved here, and it's gone like so big now, and I definitely want to get like another one, or one that is a different variety. So it's nice to just like have that reference of like that's the specific plant that I got. So that's my approach to this journal, and I'm decorating this book page here just with some rub-on stickers. So these are like a foliage leafy pattern, which I thought complemented this quite nicely and just added some little details to this. And as you'll have seen, I also went in with my white Uniball Signo, because on craft brown paper, like a white pen is the perfect combination. So I just knew I had to add some contrast with that. Now I'm adding one of these giant washi stickers just to fill in a gap here where I had pulled the pages out and I just had a blank space. This is not me saying that I'm growing pears or I have a pear tree, definitely not. But I just liked the image, and so I figured it would just fill in a blank space within the page. And I just really like the colours of it, and I think how it then blends into the craft page that I've got on the right hand side. So here's an example of me literally just collecting trash and junk for this journal. So I got a like deep root trainer for my sweet peas, and so I just decided to cut that part out because I thought it was cool. You know, just the illustration of showing how the roots grow. Like, I really do feel like this is one of those things that like only journal people will understand why I have kept that and included it within this journal. But I'm having so much fun actually putting this together. So it was nice to reflect on the things that I've done already for the garden, and then also I might use this as a place to then plan obviously what I want to do as well. So here are the seed packets that I mentioned. So I've just kept these so that I know obviously what I've planted so far, and I just thought it would be nice to have the imagery from these. And so I was just sort of playing around with the different layouts here. So obviously this is a little bit different to the other sort of more like art journal-y style things I do. It's definitely more like scrapbooky in a way, where I'm sort of like adding the different like labels and packets and things like that, and then writing like a few notes next to things just so I know obviously what they are and why I've included them. But I kind of tried to still mix in that more like journal-y style. So I did come in with stamping and with other ways to add just some like little details to the page. But on the left hand side, I did try to keep it like just the ephemera and have that be the main focus of the page so that I'm not taking away from it too much. And you know, also I don't want this to discourage me from continuing to use it, because I don't want it to feel like it's got to be like a pristine like amazing journal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want this to be very much like a work in progress, and I'm not afraid to just like add random things in here and there. So that's kind of the style that I'm going for, and I think that's why it's a little bit different obviously from my regular journals, because it's not going to be as involved necessarily, but obviously I still want to decorate it and have that be part of the process. So you know, just having like a little stamp there and then coming in with my lettering with my Tombow pen kind of, I feel like, is enough of that like sort of decorative journaling, but then it doesn't stop me necessarily from just focusing on the actual things that I am including within this journal. So this is a lot more like documenting in terms of the other journals that I will be working on. So it will be nice to have that distinction between like coming to my altered book just to be creative versus using this more as like a documentation like tool almost for using within my gardening. And you know, I might take some notes in it maybe of things that I want to try, or I don't know, even like articles that I've read if there's anything useful from different magazines and things. Like, that's kind of the style that I want this journal to evolve into. But I couldn't leave that blank space there on the right hand side of the page, and I ended up making a little border which I thought was really cute. So I just had this tiny little stamp with like a little plant and a like shovel, and I figured that I could stamp that along the edge of the packet there and use that as a way to create a little border, which I think was the perfect nod obviously to the theme of this, and was also like a really quick and easy way to fill in that space. And so with this page being craft paper as well, I did decide to write in it with my white gel pen, which I promise you can actually see a lot better in person rather than how it was showing up on camera. And you know me, I love a rounded corner on my journals, so I just thought, you know what, maybe I can round the corners of this one too. And I don't know what it is, like, it's such a simple thing that you can do to your journal pages, and I just really think it completely changes the look of the pages. And so I am going to end up rounding the corners of all of this journal. So that is where I'm at with my revived garden journal. So now that I've restarted my garden journal, doing this in the front cover really inspired me to be working in my altered book, which you know that I'm trying to finish, and I figured that I could just add maybe some imagery into this. So I've been adding like a few little cutouts here and there as I've been going along. So these are some of the pages that I tore out of this book whilst I was prepping the pages, and don't worry, these didn't go to waste. So I've been keeping these to one side, and I figured I could include some of these within the pages, so adding them back into the book. I also pulled out some other imagery from a book, but these are a little bit more complex, so I'm not sure if I'll cut them out. I'm thinking maybe this one here. But I also really like this one, and that's the trouble, is that they're both on the same side. I think I might go for this one though, but I just figured I could pick a couple of these. Maybe I could maybe cut this one from this side and then maybe one of these and just include it. And I just want to start building up some of these pages. I did also pull out the leftovers from the book covers. So I did pick up a couple of new copies of these, well, new to me copies from a charity shop, which you'll have seen as I styled the shelf that I stained, and I put those actually up there to kind of create a bit more of a display, because I'm not going to cut those. I'm not going to use them for collage. I'm going to keep those, but the covers, as you can see, they were, had seen better days, and so I figured that the covers at least are fair game for using in collage, because they were literally like so torn and falling apart, and stuff like this I actually really love to use as little like pieces of text and headers. So I thought that something like this, maybe we could add it across here, for example, something like this. I'm wondering whether to do it at the top or the bottom, like there, do you know what I mean? And then that just adds a nice like vintage touch to the page. So let's add this down there. And so that's kind of another way, I guess, you can get the most out of your books when you're getting them from charity shops. Don't forget about the covers themselves, obviously, because oftentimes they might have some nice illustrations on them or imagery, and if they don't, like, think about the text that they have on them. Maybe they've got a nice font that you could cut out some of the letters or use like this, for example. So that's a nice way of adding text, and I really like the pop of blue that we've got going on there, but I don't think I want to add another illustration. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking as a way of tying in that blue there, it could be quite nice to have perhaps one of these, but I don't know if it will detract too much from the focal point that we've got going on here, unless I include it here. This is a really fiddly little piece that I've chosen to do. So I don't know whether this will, it might get lost actually on a page like this, because it's not too busy, but there's still like a fair amount going on. Like there's not a huge amount of blank space necessarily, so I'm wondering whether this might get a little lost. I just really want that pop of blue to complement the text and sort of at least blend in with that a little bit. Like I obviously want it to be a pop of color, but I just think that having something that speaks to the same color, because it's pretty close, like it's a bit more purpley, but I just think that it will help to maybe make the page a bit more cohesive, I suppose. That's kind of what goes through my brain as I'm putting pages together, because like a lot of the time I don't have a plan at all about what I'm going to do necessarily, but I'm more thinking things like that, like thinking about colors or like textures that go together, and I kind of let that lead the way in terms of then the decisions that I'm going to make on a page. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I often find that's more helpful than trying to think of like, oh, I want the page to look exactly this way, because I feel like that's often sometimes where you fall into that trap of things not turning out the way you wanted to. So if I'm just thinking about the colors and like, adding colors to the page, like that is something that you can control. and obviously make a choice about on your page. So rather than getting caught up in things that might be more outside your control, or things like not turning out quote unquote like the way you wanted them to, I think it's a lot more helpful to think about it that way. So that's kind of how I approach my pages, is like, I'm just going to go here, oh, let's add something that is blue as well, like the same color. Or, you know, you could even flip that on its head and go, let me add something that is like the complete opposite, like a complementary color or something that contrasts, and then see how that looks on the page as well. So I've done a terrible job of cutting this out because it's so fiddly, and I'm trying not to be too like perfectionist when I'm doing these, because I don't need to be here all day cutting these out, because I could spend ages on this, and I just want to sort of do the best I can, I suppose. So I'm just wondering whether, now see, that would look great if it was underneath this flower, and I'm going to do a classic peeling something up, but I don't know if it'll do it because I glued this down a while ago, but let's see. So I'm going to go for where the papers are overlapping here, and I'm just going to, if I can, try and see what that might look like there. Maybe a little bit more to this side. See how that looks. I'm trying to sort of not cover this so you can still see this image. And I think that looks okay. I might end up coming in with maybe some white paint or something and sort of not completely covering up the image that I've got underneath, but just pushing it back slightly so that it doesn't sort of visually get in the way too much of what we've got going on. So I'm just gonna gently add this under here without hopefully ripping anything. And it's gone in the wrong place. Of course it's gone in the wrong place. Okay, I quite like that, and I think it's nice to have the composition sort of be like on this part of the page and have that focused. I also wanted to add some of these flowers, so something a little bit more modern. They're glaring here, but it's like a PET tape, and I just figured that having this more like vintage style and then mixed with a little bit of like something more modern, like these illustrations, I thought would work quite well on this page. And I just figured that they could fill in some of the blanks as well that we've got going on. So I guess I've clustered together like a few different images here, so I'm definitely thinking that this will be my space for the text, but I'm not quite sure what I want to add for the text yet. And so when I'm not sure, let's just do some mark making and work on some other aspects of the page. So this is my favorite neo color. It is in sepia, but it looks more of a like off black to me, and I just like to use this for little scribbles and details on the page, like nothing too fancy at all, but I just find that it adds a little something to my pages, at least that I enjoy to have on them. I have this little thin blue washi tape here that I thought might work well, because we've got that like blue color going on, but it's a slightly different color. It's a little bit darker, and I do really like the pattern of it, and I want to kind of add it but have it be crumpled, so not too perfect when I'm adding the tape. So something like that, and then maybe I could add one up there as well. Just to bridge that gap. And I'm really enjoying actually the like neon almost orange tape that I had used in prepping these pages. I did end up putting some tissue paper over the top of it, so it's a little bit more muted, but I really like the pop of the color. And thinking about it, actually the blue and the orange are complementary colors, so that's probably why this page is working, I think, in terms of the colors. I'm also going to add maybe a tiny bit of this tape. It's one of my favorite MT washi tapes. As you can see, I have another one there ready to go once I've used this one, because I just love it so much. It's like a really lovely, delicate, like floral pattern. And so maybe we could add this just in small pieces on the edge of the page, because I mean all my pages are. I was going to say this page is like very floral inspired, but that literally is the case for everything that I seem to create. So I've not spent too long on that at all, like sort of 10 minutes, and I've just built up a bit of a collage cluster here. And so I think this page would now be at the point where I'd probably think about what text I want to add. So I'm thinking like a piece of paper here with something typed out on my typewriter, but I'm not quite sure necessarily what words I want to use. So I will need to think about that, but I think that is pretty much this page prepped and ready to go in this altered book. So as you can see, it's getting very, very chunky here, and I can't wait to see how these other pages start to build and develop as I work on them with collage and all sorts of different mediums.